This could be easily be a Bert Kreischer story. Bert's a fucking savage. He's an animal. He's cackling like a girl right now. He can't contain himself. That doesn't mean
anything. He always does that.
The only thing that makes me think it's not Bert is it says once.
For most of us, we've become accustomed to Bert Kreischer in his natural habitat, either on Two Bears, One Cave, Bertcast, or Something's Burning. And if you've been following this channel for long enough, you will have witnessed the forensic examination of his ongoing downfall from beloved teddy bear comedian to bloated alcoholic lolcow. But every now and then, Bert ventures out onto another podcast or show to annoy the absolute shit out of somebody else's audience. This time around, he went on Story Wars with Shane Gillis, which is hosted by Lewis, Big J, and Dave Smith from Legion of Skanks. If you're not familiar with the show, each panelist submits some stories to the producers beforehand, and then they bring up the stories on the big screen, and the panelists have to guess which story happened to who. And I gotta say, the response in the comment section to Bert's appearance was crazy. Can someone on Bert's team tell him to stop screeching into the microphone? It literally kills people's smile in the room. If Bert could not do the annoying high-pitched laugh directly into the microphone, the world would be a better place. Can Bert please put his mic away from his face when he's laughing? Bert sounds like he's deflating. They needed Shane on this show so people wouldn't skip because of Bert. Well, I thought the stories had to be real with no embellishments. Why is Bert here? Dear Story Warriors, I'll be watching in spite of, not because of, one Bert Kreischer. The algorithm won't be able to tell, but at least you'll know in your heart. Sorry guys, I can't finish watching. Bert's pig squeal is just too much for me to handle. So now, basically everywhere Bert goes, his haters follow him around. And honestly, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. But stick around because I'm going to show you the cringiest bits from that episode of Story Wars, especially the part where he goes off on Shane Gillis for revealing that his dad's a lawyer. And I'm also going to go over a couple of clips from this week's Two Bears, One Cave, where Tom and Bert spit absolute bullshit from their mouths. It's basically becoming a weekly cope session for the two of them as they learn to deal with the world of hate that they've created for themselves. And then towards the end, I'll show you a clip from the latest JRE episode with Jelly Roll that basically explains what's wrong with the whole Austin comedy circle jerk. So stick around for that, but don't forget to check out the link in the description to my Patreon if you're interested in my longer form uncensored content. I just dropped a video on a new letter that was submitted to the court in Brendan Schaub's LOL suit, which could potentially expose Bupper's dodgy business practices. So go and check that out if you're interested. I'm also working on a video covering Red Band murdering on Kill Tony lately, and there's a bunch of other exclusive videos on there for you guys to get through. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe right here on YouTube so you don't miss out on any of the action. Now let's get back to Bert squealing and howling into the mic and banging it on the table to get everybody's attention. The funniest part of seeing Bert on other podcasts is how no one is prepared to call him out, except for Joe Rogan. It's so obvious that the guys on the panel are getting annoyed by Bert's drunken antics, but they know that they can't call him out because he's one of Rogan's protected 250 comedy brats.
I don't think Lewis has kissed a girl that didn't suck earlier that day. This is not a crazy story for Lewis.
Lewis would never remember that he sucked another dude's dick. He would just be like, well, that's Thursday.
It's just not that remarkable of a story, guys. I mean, what do you want to say?
Lewis stops making out with chicks and he goes, no salt? Did you not suck a guy's dick earlier this day? Bland.
Right. Final vote, Big J.
Final vote, Lewis.
Jay.
Bert Kreischer story.
You know it. I'm the only sensitive boy on this fucking panel. Suck at a party. I then later that night at 12:30 p.m. at his house made out with her. And I bragged about it Monday morning, only to find out she has sucked at a 10:30. It was a tough pill to swallow. And yes, it was salty. But it, that's a real story.
Wow. Wow. Bert Kreischer stealing round one.
The sweep. Bert does the sweep.
I can't wait for this fucking game. I came to play, motherfuckers.
Only Bert Kreischer could cop his buddy's sloppy seconds and then brag about it for the next 30 years. And in case you were wondering, that wasn't me who edited out the names of the people involved. Somebody needs to explain to Bert that he can't just name drop people in his stories. But wait for this one, just after Bert sat there and rattled off a bunch of names for absolutely no reason at all, he gets the shits at Shane for saying that his dad's a lawyer, as if it's some massive secret.
You know what? This could easily be Jay. In your old fucking picking days.
It's not Jay. It's not Jay. He would have left her.
Oh. Although it does have to be a weak person.
Because they need help.
It's a girl. Or they're fucking a big dog. Who's the blackest one up here? Lewis. It's Lewis.
Damn it, I'm not being able to get reads on anybody right now.
I know, me either.
I thought it was Shane at first.
Hold on. Who is it? Definitely not. It's
Definitely not
Shane.
Dave.
It's definitely not Shane.
Why?
It's definitely not Dave.
I don't fool
Shane
around
would
with this
call
type
his
of
dad.
nasty stuff.
He's not going to pull the hooker out of the room.
It's not a hooker. We don't know that it's a hooker, guys.
On this hooker thing.
Nobody said a
Dad
hooker.
ever.
You're calling your dad.
You're calling your dad.
I'm calling your dad.
You're calling your dad. My dad's a bottle cap salesman. Your dad's a lawyer. I'm not calling Hey Phil. Wake up.
Wait, you know what my dad does?
I've heard about it.
Would my
You
Is it a secret?
I don't know.
Is it a secret? All right, delete that. My bad. My next one's going to be bad.
All right, we got to get our votes in,
My
guys.
friend's dad's a lawyer. It's
We're-
my submission.
Alex, if you f***ed us and put Bert twice in a row, you're literally fired. I'm sick of this.
Bert's brain is so fried at this point that he can't even remember all the times he's mentioned that his dad's a lawyer himself. And not just any lawyer, mind you.
My dad worked for the
Well, that
Church
concludes
of
this
Scientology.
TED Talk.
My dad worked for the Church of Scientology when I was a kid.
Why? What? He was a Scientologist?
No,
Oh,
but
he just worked for the church?
he worked for the church. He worked for L. Ron Hubbard. Wow. He defended someone, so that like someone tried to escape from the church, and was like, "Hey man, they're horseshit or whatever." And my dad defended that person against the church, and won. And so then the church just came and threw a bunch of money at him and was like, "Yo, we want you."
Oh.
Anyone who can beat us. So I think my dad knew L. Ron Hubbard, met him, But I remember him and my mom's a lot like
I
me.
mean,
He was like, my dad was like,
that
do not talk to anyone at these f***ing dinners.
My dad was a lawyer, so I thought you could be a lawyer, and that's it.
Yeah.
I was like, you can be a lawyer. I can be a lawyer.
Yeah.
I was like,
Dude,
maybe
imagine you as a lawyer.
I'd be a great.
Could you?
I'd
You would
be
be
a
a
great-
fucking
I'd be
great
a great-
lawyer.
Objection, Your Honor.
Dude, I would. Fucking
Dude,
grab a
you.
joint
Oh
for
my
it.
God. Yeah, you defending me with no shirt on. It'd be fucking hilarious, dude.
Yeah, that was fucking weird. I have no idea why he tried to pull up Shane for mentioning that his dad's a lawyer. Tom and Bert are obsessed with trying to hide the fact that they both came from money. You can just imagine the fees his dad used to pull in from all of Scientology's lawsuits. He must have been a beast of a lawyer. But like I was saying earlier, Two Bears, One Cave has become a massive cope session for Tom and Bert. What used to be a couple of hours for their fans to switch off and have a laugh has now become their dumping ground for all their grievances and complaints with the world. In this episode, Tom was complaining that he's struggling to keep losing weight, even though he's upped his gym sessions and hired a personal chef to prepare all his meals for him. Then Bert went on this long tangent about how he loves to wear activewear around the house, just in case he wants to go for a walk or something. It's the type of conversation you'd expect to hear on a reality TV show of desperate housewives, or a post on Brendan Schaub's wife's Instagram. And speaking of Instagram, it seems like Bert just can't get away from all the haters.
If I come up on Instagram, don't watch it. I don't want to watch it. I can't. If it's good or if it's bad, none of it can register with me.
Yeah.
I have to. I'm like, I literally am. I am like completely. I was just talking to someone about this weekend, where I was like, who was I talking to? I was like, if I allow the good to influence me, then I'll start looking for the good.
Yeah.
And then if I allow the bad to influence me, then I'll start looking for good to help me outweigh
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And it's just, it's like it's not
Unhealthy.
worth it.
Yeah, yeah.
I was talking to someone and they were like, my therapist says it's identical to a relapse. Like when you get back into your comments, you're relapsing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I was like, oh yeah. So I don't do it. So if Leanne will just scroll, and if it's me, she loves me. So she go, oh, I wonder what this is. I go, don't. I'm in bed with her. And there's a video of me and you from back in the day. You know those pages that they're like,
Yeah.
I wish there was a page dedicated to just Tom and Bert being funny.
Yeah.
And then it's like a good clip. I go, don't watch it. I don't want to watch it. She goes, what? It's funny. And I went, I know, but if I watch those, then I get excited and I start looking for those. And I don't want that. I don't watch anyone's clips. All I do look at is boat disasters and Puerto Rican guys getting their hair cut. Yeah. And she's like, okay, and then she goes to the next one.
Bert's on-again, off-again relationship with reading comments is fucking hilarious. It's so obvious that he watches all the clips and videos shitting on him and reads the comments. And it's funny how he pretends to ignore all the hate, yet he's also clued in to exactly what everybody thinks about him. The only thing funnier than Bert reading hate comments is him getting his staff to read them for him and to give him summaries. But it's one thing to get hate from the internet and an entirely other thing to get pushback from your buddies. I'll tie all of this together in a moment, but just take a look at this clip first and I'll pick it up straight after.
We're going to have to give out 65 shirts. Have
65
you run the numbers
shirts.
on this?
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's a
Dude, we can't afford 60.
Okay.
Rogan has an opportunity to do the funniest thing of all time.
No one's ever said that.
Rogan can just...
I'm just kidding.
Oh, Mark, you're wrong. The opportunity's there.
He hears it, he says it, he does it.
Okay, so Mark Norman's obviously a close friend of Joe Rogan, and he's just bantering with the guys on the panel. But we all know there's truth to every joke, and that's not the first time he's implied that Joe Rogan isn't funny.
Now, I'm obviously not a bomb expert, but I talked to one.
You should see your act.
He can't stop himself.
All right. Keep going. Need some levity.
If you look at, it did need levity. If you look at the images of the building, if you look at the images of,
I'm not a bomb.
You're an animal. You're a fucking animal. You can't be stopped.
So it's an open secret that Rogan's more famous than he is funny, and that's something that can be said about most of Joe's close friends, except for probably Mark and Shane. And seeing the reactions from everyone from both of those clips when Mark roasted Rogan tells you everything you need to know. It's like they're all trying to suppress their guilty laughs but can't help it, so it goes on for a little longer than it should. And when you think about it, it wouldn't have been as funny if Mark said that about anybody else. It's because it's about Rogan that makes it so good. I mean, that clip from the Legion of Skanks podcast where they're all sitting around with sheepish grins after Mark had the balls to say the quiet bit out loud, yeah, that's a fucking classic. It also tells me that most of these guys are up to speed on what everyone thinks about Rogan and his comedy brethren, and even though Rogan says he doesn't read comments or pay attention to any of the hate, there's no way that he doesn't know that he's basically a stand-up comedy meme at this point. That's why I think he's so sensitive when people joke about him bombing or not being funny. He gets super fucking defensive and then starts ranting about how dangerous social media is and how it's not real and it shouldn't be taken seriously, except when he's telling Jamie to pull up a bullshit tweet. But it's a similar situation for Tom and Bert. They've always had an audience and fans who love their comedy, but because they're so close with Rogan and have regular spots on JRE, their fame is way bigger than their comedy.
I think I've changed in a lot of ways. Like celebrity does affect you. You have access to things that you never would have had access to. And I think those are all cool. I'm watching it happen to our friends who are getting like ultra famous, and I'm watching them be uncomfortable with it. And it affecting them. But once it affects you, once you start dressing down to go on stage to seem relatable, like say you show up in a suit and then you go, yeah, but I got to go out in old sneakers and a stained shirt.
It's inauthentic.
Then it's inauthentic.
And the funny thing is, they're doing it to be authentic. They're like, this will make me seem like I'm the same guy, and it's contrived, and it's actually, you can go as far to say it is unethical, because you are completely manipulating people to think that you are something that you are not. And I know a dozen guys like this.
I know more guys like this than the other.
And the funny thing is, like, they're full of shit. These guys are full of shit, and people will sometimes like talk about these guys like, hey, look how nice this is. Like he's one of us. And he's like, no, he's not. He's manipulating you. He lies to you.
He's manipulating you. Yeah.
It's nonsense.
The hypocrisy in that clip is off the fucking chain. Tom Segura, of all people, complaining about the inauthenticity of comedians. This is coming from the guy who had to delete a whole month of tweets last year after he had an airport meltdown over a bag check. Then he refused to answer how many cars he owns when he was on with Bobby Kelly. No other big comedian has struggled with their public image more than Tom Segura.
Guys, we're making changes to this show.
We are. Yeah.
We're making changes to this show.
So no previews at the top.
No previews at the top.
You're never going to cry or say you had the best night of your life.
Yep. I'm going to talk very grounded in every story. They won't be interesting. They're going to be just like it happened.
No exaggerations.
No, very minimal exaggeration. Did you hear that, guys?
Yeah.
I'm trying to tone down my laugh, too. All the things you don't like about me, I'm changing.
By the way, I've listened too. Look at this bare wrist.
He took an Uber X here.
I did.
I can't think of any old school comedian who had such a big backlash from their fans for becoming out of touch and bragging about their wealth to the point where they ended up lecturing their audience for being poor. And it all comes down to overexposure through podcasting. This is where I wanted to get to because as much as people like to deny it, this all comes back to Joe Rogan.
That's how I describe your club. I was like, it's the gym for the greatest comedians in the world, Tuesday through Thursday. And then the other greatest comedians in the world come and rent it from Friday to Sunday. I was like, it's crazy, dude. It's like no matter what day
and then you
or
have
show
Kill
you
Tony,
want,
that's the anchor.
every Monday.
Kill Tony is the anchor of comedy in the known universe. Everyone's like super woke and they want to let everyone else know that they're super woke. It's like a kind of thing you have to do. So you get ideologically captured. What Kill Tony makes you do is you have 1 minute. You have 1 minute and there's obviously no rules. By the time you get on stage, you've seen Cam go crazy. You've seen Hans Kim say some ridiculous shit. Maybe you've seen William Montgomery or Brian Holtz, but you've seen maniacs on stage killing. And so you got 1 minute, just crack. It's time to crack. So it sets a tone for comedy. But it's just go try to find your way. Don't try any tricks. Don't try to sneak in some ideological bullshit just because you think people are going to agree with you and like you more and clap and cheat and you're going to say something profound. Shut up. You got 1 minute. So that sets a tone for all the people coming up.
So real. I
It's
never
so
thought of it
real.
that way.
It's one of the most important things that's ever happened to comedy.
Nobody's trying to impose their beliefs on you real
Exactly.
quick. They're just trying to they got 60 seconds to get a fucking laugh.
Oh, fuck me dead. Where do I start? Okay, so for those of you who follow me on Patreon, you'll know I'm a big fan of Kill Tony. I watch every episode and I like that it's unpredictable and how Tony has the most fragile ego in Austin. Red Band's been dropping zingers lately and the whole thing is growing like crazy. I absolutely love it. Cam Patterson, Ari Matti, the guests are usually good. I love seeing people bomb and I love seeing people do well and get opportunities. But to say that Kill Tony is the anchor of comedy around the world is absolutely fucking wild. Like, that's got to be a top 5 Joe Rogan delusion right there. These guys are so caught up in the Austin comedy bubble that they think they're the next coming of Jesus. This is why guys like Tom, Bert, Brendan Schaub, Andrew Schultz, and Joe Rogan himself are getting so much backlash. The haters are no longer a minority anymore, and it all goes back to Rogan's podcast. For all those guys, the podcast has been the real anchor for their comedy careers. Joe used to get around 11 million listeners per episode before he went to Spotify. Now that number's obviously a lot lower, but when you do the math with hundreds of millions of listeners per month, it didn't matter how funny these guys were. Even with a 1% conversion rate of listeners to comedy fans, that's still an incredible amount of comedy fans to sell tickets to. And with the millions of dollars a month that they bring in, it's allowed guys like Rogan to build a crazy comedy club and for Bert to employ full-time staff to promote and sell at arenas. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve it. If there's a demand and supply for something, then everything will work out however it's meant to work out. My issue is with the constant jerking off and fart sniffing, followed by all the complaining and punching down to their audience. The only thing worse than their greed is the constant self-congratulation. And that's why I think guys like Tom and Bert are so broken now. Even Andrew Schultz has been waxing lyrical about the dead internet theory and using it to cope with all the hate he's been getting since he screwed over his fans with his comedy special. They all got so famous off of Joe Rogan that they're having trouble coming to terms with the fact that everyone's figuring out that they're just not that funny. And I've said before that Tom Segura used to be one of my favorite comedians, but the money and fame has got into his head so badly that he hasn't been able to keep it up. Same with Schultz. He's had some pretty good sets before. I've even gone to see see him live myself, but they're all doing too much now and they're not writing like they used to. Now it's all signing checks and investing their money, managing staff and several podcasts. The funny's dead now. So I think the haters are just going to grow more and more and get louder and louder now that people are realizing that it's all just one big circle jerk. Anyway, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with all my videos, and give this video a like if you ended up enjoying it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.
I actually feel crazy. I should never have smoked pot last night.
Yeah,
I should have just gone to bed.
Yeah.
I was up all night long.
This is going to be a good month of cleansing for you.
I hope so. I wish I could do Xanax. I wish I still took Xanax.
No, stay away from that.
I know. My cardiologist says it melts your brain.